Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, welcome, and please go ahead and subscribe right now because today's video is one that I genuinely believe matters beyond just the BTS fan community. It matters for anyone who has ever been skeptical about K-pop. It matters for anyone who has wondered what all the fuss is about. It matters for anyone who has thought to themselves, these groups are manufactured, the fandom is overwhelming, the whole thing is designed to manipulate you into caring about something you would never naturally care about. Because today we are talking about a journalist from one of the most respected and most credible newspapers in the world, someone who walked into a BTS concert in London on July 7, 2026, carrying exactly that kind of skepticism and walked out having named Jimin as her favorite member and feeling an urge to learn Korean. This is not a fan account. This is The Guardian. And the story of what happened to that journalist inside Tottenham Hotspur Stadium is one of the most compelling arguments for what BTS actually is, and specifically for what Jimin actually does to people who are willing to be honest about their experience, that I have come across in all my years of covering this group. Let's start with The Guardian itself, because context matters here and the credibility of the source is central to why this particular review has generated the reaction it has. The Guardian is not a tabloid. It is not a celebrity gossip publication. It is not a music press outlet that covers K-pop as part of its regular beat. The Guardian is one of the most respected newspapers in the English-speaking world, a publication with a history stretching back to 1821, a readership that spans the globe, a reputation for serious journalism that takes culture seriously, and a music criticism tradition that has historically been unsentimental and demanding in its standards. When The Guardian reviews a concert, it does so from a position of genuine critical distance. The reviewer is not there to celebrate. They are there to evaluate. The reviewer began the night ambivalent, skeptical enough to wonder about the branding and staging, then ended up won over by the shift in tone as the set became more communal and relaxed. Jimin was the turn in that arc. That sentence, Jimin was the turn in that arc, is a remarkable piece of critical writing, because it identifies something specific and something true. Not a general enthusiasm for BTS. Not a surrender to the overwhelming energy of a sold-out stadium. A specific turn, a specific moment in the arc of an evening, where one person's performance changed the trajectory of a skeptic's experience. And the person responsible for that turn was Jimin. The reviewer wrote, "I started the show ambivalent and by the end I had a favorite member, Jimin, and an urge to learn Korean. I wanted to make them my wallpaper and bump into them at Duck and Waffle. I didn't even have a bomb stick, so if they were controlling my mind it was through other means. Whatever BTS has, it's potent." Read that again. Whatever BTS has, it's potent. That is a Guardian critic, someone who arrived at this concert with professional distance and genuine skepticism, arriving at the conclusion that whatever is happening here is real and it is powerful and she cannot fully explain it but she cannot deny it either. She did not have a light stick. She was not part of the organized fan community with its coordinated projects and its shared vocabulary and its years of investment in these specific people. She was a journalist doing her job. And Jimin converted her. Now let's talk about what was actually happening at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium on July 7, 2026, because the concert itself is the context in which this conversion took place. BTS returned to the UK on July 7 with 62,000 people in the stands. 7 years had passed since their last UK concert, so the night landed as a reset rather than a routine stop on the Arirang tour. 7 years. The last time BTS performed in the UK was in 2019, during the Love Yourself, Speak Yourself World Tour, when they made history as the first South Korean act to headline Wembley Stadium. That concert was already a landmark moment in the relationship between K-pop and British culture. And then came the years of the pandemic, and then the military service, and then the long patient waiting of British Army for a return that seemed like it might never come. According to Live Nation UK, the group set the highest ever audience capacity for a single concert at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, with an estimated 120,000 fans attending over the two-night span. Tickets sold out in just 30 minutes. 30 minutes. For the only 2 UK dates on an 82-stop world tour. As the group prepared to take the stage, traditional Korean instruments played over the speakers as the anticipation inside the stadium reached fever pitch, with fans chanting for the group at the top of their voices.
Through the album Erarang, BTS looked to shine a spotlight on Korean culture and heritage as they returned to their roots. The world tour acts as the natural extension of this expression of Korean identity, with everything from the stage design to the choreography and visual effects contributing to its authentic story. This is important context for understanding the Guardian reviewer's arc from ambivalence to conversion. She walked into a stadium that was already full of a specific kind of energy, an energy built not just from fan enthusiasm but from the deliberate, thoughtful cultural intention that BTS have embedded into every element of the Erarang tour. Traditional Korean instruments before the show starts. Stage design that references Korean visual culture. Choreography that draws from Korean dance traditions. This is not a generic pop concert that happens to feature Korean performers. This is a concert that is specifically, consciously about Korean identity, about what it means to be Korean and to bring that identity into the largest performance spaces in the world. For a journalist from a publication that takes culture seriously, the sophistication of that intention should have been immediately apparent. And the Guardian review suggests it was. The skepticism the reviewer brought was not a skepticism about Korean culture or about the sincerity of the artistic vision. It was a more specific skepticism about the K-pop machine, about whether what happens in these enormously produced, enormously attended shows is genuinely artistically meaningful or whether it is primarily the product of industrial-scale manufacturing of parasocial feeling, of a system that has figured out how to make people care about performers through methods that have more in common with marketing than with art. That is a legitimate and intellectually serious question, and it is exactly the kind of question that a Guardian reviewer would bring to this concert. And the answer that the concert gave her, and specifically the answer that Jimin gave her, is the most interesting part of this story. The Guardian review noted that BTS's versatility is still astonishing. The stands literally shake as they thunder through pop-rap crossover hooligan. The Tame Impala indebted like animals cements their prowess with balladry, soft and floaty enough to feel like it's being sung directly to each of the 62,000 people in the room. The industrial-level bangers mid-show are a thrilling energy release and the surprise songs that aren't usual setlist. Fixtures seem to delight even the band, who grin and sing along to each other's parts. The Tame Impala comparison is particularly telling. Tame Impala is one of the most critically beloved acts in indie rock, an Australian artist whose psychedelic pop has earned the kind of respect from serious music critics that K-pop acts are almost never accorded. The fact that a Guardian reviewer reached for Tame Impala as a reference point for one of BTS's songs, that she heard something in Like Animals that connected her to that tradition of critically respected, emotionally sophisticated music making, tells you something important about the gap between how BTS is typically discussed in mainstream Western media and what is actually happening in their music. The joy on stage is reflected back approximately 1 millionfold. It reverberates through the wall of screams and the sea of lit-up bomb sticks. Girls have photos of their favorite members woven into their hair and dangling off handbags. They end on a gentle note, motioning to each other to take out their in-ear monitors to hear fans sing Into the Sun back to them. That final image, the members removing their in-ear monitors so they can hear the crowd singing the song back to them, unamplified, just the human voices of 62,000 people filling a stadium, is one of the most beautiful moments in the review and one of the details that most clearly captures something true about BTS and their relationship with their audience. This is not a manufactured moment. You cannot choreograph 62,000 people singing in unison with genuine emotion while the performers stand still and listen. That kind of moment is the product of a decade plus of relationship building, of music that means something real to the people who love it, of a connection between artist and audience that goes far deeper than any commercial transaction. And it was in the context of all of this, the versatility, the joy, the cultural intention, the genuine emotional depth of the concert as a whole, that Jimin emerged as the turn in the arc. The element that moved a skeptical professional journalist from ambivalence to named preference. The specific ingredient that made the difference for someone who was watching critically rather than through the lens of existing love. This is not the first time The Guardian has acknowledged Jimin specifically. The TikTok and fan account context that circulated alongside the London Review reminded people that in 2018, The Guardian published a list of the best boy band members of all time, a list that covered the entire history of Western boy band music, spanning decades of pop history, and included only 2 K-pop artists, G-Dragon of Big Bang and Jimin of BTS.
In 2018, before BTS had headlined Wembley, before they had spoken at the United Nations, before they had become the dominant global music story of the decade, The Guardian's critics already saw something in Jimin that belonged on a list with the greatest boy band performers in the history of the form. The 2026 London Review is, in that sense, a confirmation of a judgment that The Guardian had already made 8 years earlier. The same publication, looking at the same person in different contexts, in 2018 as a subject of critical analysis, in 2026 as a live performer witnessed in person for the first time, arrived at the same conclusion: Jimin is extraordinary. What is it that Jimin does that produces this result in people who are watching him without prior investment? This is a question worth spending some time on, because the Guardian reviewer's experience is not unique. The pattern of people encountering Jimin for the first time through a concert performance as opposed to through recorded content or through the mediated experience of watching fancam footage and emerging from that encounter with a specific, named, strong reaction to him is one that has been documented repeatedly across the Arirang World Tour. The security guard in Las Vegas who maintained her professional composure while clearly fighting a smile. The Telemundo news anchor who adopted his hairstyle on air. The concert reviewer in every city who singles him out in their coverage. The consistent pattern of non-fans being converted into Jimin-specific fans through the experience of watching him perform live is one of the most reliably documented phenomena of this entire tour cycle. And the answer, I think, comes back to the same quality that has defined everything we have discussed about Jimin across every video on this channel covering the Arirang tour: presence. Real, specific, undeniable human presence. The quality of being completely and fully in the moment of every movement, every expression, every vocal line coming from a place of complete commitment and complete authenticity. Jimin performing is not Jimin executing a set of practiced behaviors according to a performance plan. It is Jimin communicating something real, from a real place, with the full technical skill and the full physical expressiveness and the full emotional depth that he has spent his entire life developing. And when a human being is fully present in that way, when there is no gap between who they are and what they are doing, other human beings feel it. Even skeptical ones. Even professional ones who arrived at the concert specifically intending not to feel it. The Guardian review ends with a sentence that I think is one of the most honest things I have ever read about BTS from a mainstream Western outlet: whatever BTS has, it's potent. That acknowledgement that something real is happening here, something that works on the human nervous system through means that resist easy analysis, something that a professional critic can recognize and report even when she cannot fully account for it, is the most credible and the most meaningful endorsement that BTS could receive from the British press. Not a 5-star rating. Not a list of superlatives. Just an honest admission: this is real, and it is powerful, and Jimin is at the center of it. For ARMY who have known this for years, the Guardian review is validation. For people who have been skeptical about K-pop and specifically about BTS, it is an invitation. And for Jimin himself, who has spent his entire career giving everything he has to audiences around the world, who fought for his long hair against institutional resistance, who stops concerts when fans are in distress, who notices one person in a crowd of 66,000, who leaves handwritten notes for the people who help him, the fact that a journalist from The Guardian walked out of Tottenham Hotspur Stadium wanting him as her wallpaper is simply what happens when you are entirely, consistently, authentically yourself in front of the world for long enough. The world eventually notices. Thank you so much for watching. If this video resonated with you, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel for more content covering the BTS Arirang World Tour and all the moments, big, small, musical, cultural, human, that define what this era means. Drop a comment below and tell me, were you a skeptic once? What was the moment that converted you? I want to hear every story. I will see you in the next one.